She never asked for love. That was your illusion, your sentimental delusion. She wanted obedience cloaked as affection, submission dressed in admiration. What you mistook for desire was reconnaissance. Every glance, a measurement. Every silence, a calculation. While you bled sincerity, she counted your weaknesses like a strategist mapping enemy terrain. Do not confuse the softness of her voice with softness of intent. In power, gentleness is camouflage. The most effective tyrants are those who appear disarmed until the moment your autonomy has vanished beneath the weight of their smile. She does not want your heart. She wants the coordinates to it, to chart every insecurity and exploit every hesitation. Control is not taken by force. It is offered by those too naive to recognize the nature of a transaction that never was mutual. You think love binds. It doesn't. Fear does, need does, dependency does. Love is a luxury of those who do not intend to rule. But for those who do, for those who understand, the mechanics of influence affection is only useful when it breeds allegiance, or guilt, or debt. She crafts absence like a weapon, silence like a siege. You chase, you justify, you compromise. And all the while, your will decays under the illusion that winning her affection will restore your strength. But in truth, it is your chase that feeds her power, your hunger that nourishes her throne. She is not cruel. Cruelty is inefficient. She is selective, efficient, surgical. The highest form of domination is not felt in screams, but in the quiet bending of another's will, the subtle redirection of their purpose until they forget it was ever their own. You believed she misunderstood you, that if you just explained yourself better, she would see your worth. But it was never about understanding. It was about leverage. And when understanding does not yield control, it is discarded. She thrives not on chaos, but on architecture, a quiet empire built from your concessions, your hesitations, your desire to be chosen. And in that desire, you relinquish the only thing that ever made you formidable, your independence. To her, affection is a leash, gratitude, a binding, vulnerability, an invitation to architect your downfall in ways you will thank her for. That is the genius of power dressed in intimacy. It binds tighter than chains and feels like love. She doesn't want peace. Peace makes rulers soft. What she wants is tension. Tension is vigilance. Tension keeps you guessing. Tension ensures you're never quite sure whether you're valued or expendable, and in that doubt, you become loyal. She does not seek a partner. She seeks an extension of her will, a mirror that reflects only what she permits, a soldier who doesn't need orders because he has internalized her desires as law. And you, the romantic, the idealist, you thought you could change her, that love could soften steel, but power does not melt. It adapts, it learns, and it survives by consuming the dreams of those who underestimate its appetite. Understand this. Love, in her world, is not a sanctuary. It is a battlefield. And every gesture, every kiss, every promise is a maneuver, a positioning, a test. Will you yield or will you resist? Will you bend or will you break? Because she doesn't crave connection. She craves dominion. Not the loud, crude kind that tyrants wield, but the elegant kind. The kind that installs itself in your mind and whispers suggestions until you believe they were your own. She rules through absence, through ambiguity, through the slow erosion of your certainties. And by the time you realize your foundation is gone, she will be somewhere else, already dismantling the next fortress with a smile. This is not hatred. It is design. Power always seeks expression. Some build kingdoms, some start wars. And some conquer through intimacy not because they cannot love, but because love is too uncertain, too volatile, too equal. And power never wants equals, it wants instruments. So ask yourself, were you loved or were you used efficiently? The answer lies not in what she said, but in what you gave up to keep her saying it. Because in the end, she never wanted your love. She wanted control. And yet even now you hesitate to admit it. Because to admit it would mean confronting your own complicity. It would mean seeing that every step toward her was a step away from yourself. that the rope was not wrapped around your throat by force, but woven strand by strand from your own need to be needed. Power never seizes it, invites, it lures. It waits for you to surrender pieces of yourself until nothing remains but the husk of a man trying to remember what resistance felt like. You thought you were the pursuer, that your desire was an active force, but in truth, desire was the leash she used to lead you into submission. The more you longed, the more predictable you became. The more predictable you became, the easier you were to control. There is no tyranny more perfect than one where the subject builds his own prison, paints the walls with hope, and calls the bars devotion. Do not imagine this as an act of malice. Malice is clumsy, it lacks precision. What you encountered was not hatred, but discipline, a refined understanding of how influence works in the human mind. A predator does not despise its prey, it studies it, learns its habits, anticipates its moves, and when the moment comes, the strike is almost gentle, as though the prey were always meant to surrender. To lead is to understand weakness. To rule is to cultivate it in others and disguise it as strength. She gave you just enough affirmation to keep you chasing, just enough warmth to make the coldness unbearable. This is how power operates when it prefers to wear silk rather than iron. It does not crush, it seduces. It does not demand, it inspires your own sacrifice. You remember moments of laughter, of intimacy, of what felt like shared vulnerability. But even then, the scales were not balanced. Every confession she drew from you was currency. Every secret you revealed a future weapon. To you, it felt like closeness. To her, it was reconnaissance, a careful mapping of the fault lines in your resolve. You thought that trust was a virtue, but in the theater of power, trust is leverage in disguise. The more you gave, the less you possessed, until finally, you were not offering loyalty, you were offering yourself entire, unquestioning, and in her quiet way, she accepted. There is a reason why the powerful do not value love. Love demands equality, reciprocity, vulnerability, all of which dilute authority. To love is to risk losing control, and for those who seek dominion, loss of control is death. So they learn to simulate affection, to perform tenderness when necessary, but they never let it infect their core. They understand that true command requires distance, even in the most intimate embrace. You believed she could be reached, that beneath the layers of composure there was a heart yearning to be understood. But rulers are not built that way. They do not yearn. They do not wait for understanding. They shape perception. They wield it like a blade. And when it no longer serves them, they discard it without hesitation, because hesitation is the weakness they refuse to permit in themselves. You may call it coldness, but that word reveals your bias. Coldness suggests a deficiency. What you witnessed was not deficiency. It was mastery. Mastery over impulse, over sentiment, over every instinct that might soften the will and blur the clarity of purpose. This is what separates those who command from those who are commanded. And perhaps now, as you sift through the ashes of what you thought was love, you begin to see the pattern. This was never personal. It was structural. A dynamic older than kingdoms, deeper than loyalty, more enduring than desire. The strong do not conquer because they hate the weak. They conquer because nature abhors a vacuum, and weakness invites possession. The world is not a place of mutual understanding. It is a theater of forces, colliding and consuming, building and destroying. To navigate it without being devoured, you must first strip yourself of illusions. Illusions of fairness, illusions of safety, illusions that those who smile mean you no harm. The smile is often the sharpest blade. What she taught you, though you do not yet realize it, is that power is not given, it is taken. And once taken, it must be defended without rest, without apology, without the sentimentality that makes men falter at decisive moments. She taught you, in her way, that the instinct to dominate is not gendered, not cultural, not even moral. It is primal. It is the silent law beneath all laws. And when you finally understand this, truly understand it, you will not hate her. You will not mourn her. You will thank her. Because in dismantling you, she forced you to confront the architecture of power itself, the architecture you ignored while dreaming of reciprocity, the architecture that rules your world, whether you acknowledge it or not. You will see that love, as you conceived it, is a fragile fiction, a fiction for those who would rather be ruled gently than stand exposed in the raw light of necessity. And if you are strong enough, you will rise from this wreckage stripped of sentiment, armed with clarity, prepared at last to enter the only realm that matters, the realm where control is not sought as an ornament, but seized as a condition for survival. For she never wanted love, she wanted control, and now, if you have learned anything, so should you. And so it begins to dawn on you. Control does not liberate even the one who wields it. It ensnares. It binds the ruler in a web of their own making, every thread a pact, every knot a compromise with necessity. She was not free, not truly. For to hold others in your grasp is to lose the luxury of weakness, to forfeit the softness that comes with being unobserved. She moved through the world not as a woman, but as an edifice, constructed brick by brick from resolve, suspicion, and the endless calculations of survival. Power demands vigilance. The ruler sleeps with one eye open because affection fades, alliances shift, and loyalty is the most perishable currency of all. She could not permit herself the indulgence of rest, and so, though you thought her coldness a choice, it was in fact her cage. A ruler cannot afford to love. Love is a wound waiting to be struck, an opening in the armor. So she armored herself until even she forgot what lay beneath. Do not mistake this for tragedy. Tragedy belongs to those who seek meaning in suffering. For her there was no tragedy, only necessity. Power is not sentimental, it is structural, a machine that grinds down both subject and sovereign. She learned this early, perhaps from betrayal, perhaps from observation. She learned that to hesitate is to invite dethronement, and to care too deeply is to grant an enemy the lever to move your world. And yet you, in your naivety, offered her the very thing she could never return. You offered love as if it were enough. You thought that to give yourself was to win her heart, but rulers have no heart to win. Not in the sense you mean. They have only the pulse of strategy, the rhythm of necessity. To love you in truth would have been to abdicate her position, to step down from the throne she built within your mind, and that she could never do. Consider the theater of her movements, every gesture rehearsed, every silence deliberate. This was not intimacy, it was performance, and yet the performance became reality because you believed it. That is the paradox of power. It does not need to be real to be effective. Appearances govern men more than truths do. A ruler who appears merciful is safer than one who is merciful. A ruler who appears just commands more loyalty than one who acts justly. She understood this. She knew the art of the mask, and you were captivated not by her essence, but by the mask she wore so flawlessly you mistook it for her face. This is the way of all dominion. It wears the mask until the subject forgets there is a face beneath it. And when the mask is finally removed, the subject has already surrendered too much to turn away. It is not hatred that ruled her, nor greed. It was the simple understanding that in a world of predators and prey, to falter for even a moment is to be devoured. She chose to be the predator, and now you ask yourself, what would you have done in her place? Could you have ruled without deception, without manipulation, without the constant cultivation of fear? Or would you too have discovered that power demands the sacrifice of your better nature? Perhaps this is the ultimate cruelty of power. It corrupts not through indulgence but through discipline. The ruler learns to deny themselves the very joys they inspire in others. She smiled at you, but not for pleasure. She smiled because it disarmed you. She kissed you, but not from longing. She kissed you because intimacy was the most efficient path to subjugation. And when she withdrew, when she turned cold, it was not to punish you, but to tighten the bond. Absence breeds desire. Desire breeds dependence. What she wielded over you was not brute force. It was the far subtler weapon of psychological gravity, the pull of someone who occupies the center of your world so completely that your sense of self orbits around them. This is the highest form of control, and the most enduring. Armies can be defeated, laws can be overturned, but a mind that has surrendered its autonomy seldom reclaims it. And yet, even now, you feel the tug. You imagine what might have been if only you had loved her better, if only you had been stronger, more patient, more understanding. But these thoughts betray you. They reveal that even in her absence, she commands you still. You are not free, not yet. Freedom will come only when you accept that power is not shared, it is imposed, that the ruler does not seek harmony but hierarchy, that in the economy of influence, affection is always transactional, even when cloaked in tenderness, and most of all, that the fault was never hers alone. You walked willingly into her architecture, eager to be ruled, because submission felt safer than standing alone. She doesn't want love, she wants control, and in truth, so do you. You long to master yourself as completely as she mastered you. You long to walk the world with her clarity, her discipline, her unflinching grasp of necessity. But are you willing to pay her price? To cut away sentimentality until only will remains? To forsake not only the love of others, but your own capacity to love, if that is what survival demands? This is the reckoning, not hers, yours. The question is no longer why she did what she did. The question is whether you will continue as prey or rise as predator. Whether you will cling to your illusions or embrace the cold truth that those who rule and those who are ruled are separated not by virtue but by resolve. For in the end, the world does not care if you are kind. It does not care if you are sincere. It cares only whether you command or obey. And she, with all her calm, all her elegance, all her precision, understood this before you ever met her. She never wanted love. She wanted control. And now you must decide. Will you recover your freedom, or will you remain an instrument in the hands of the next ruler who wears a softer mask? Because the architecture remains, and those who refuse to see it are fated to serve it. And so we go deeper, deeper into the marrow of power, where the sovereign stands not as a figure of freedom, but as a prisoner of their own authority. You imagined her invincible, immune to the weight of consequence. But look closer. To rule is to be watched without end. To command is to be surrounded by silence that can never be trusted. Every ally is a rival in waiting. Every smile in her court conceals calculation. She is bound, just as you were bound, though her chains are of a different kind. Yours were forged of longing, hers of vigilance. You dreamed of soft places where love might flourish. She dreamed only of fortresses' inner walls, behind which no enemy could breach, no lover could disarm. To you, her aloofness felt like cruelty. To her, it was survival. This is the ruler's curse, to construct such an impregnable citadel of control that even they cannot escape it. She watches herself as you once watched her, every word measured, every gesture rehearsed. To slip, even for a moment, is to invite revolt. To falter, even in private, is to admit the possibility of weakness. And weakness, once glimpsed, spreads like infection. Do you understand now? Power is not freedom. It is a burden carried alone. It demands sacrifices that strip away the softness of humanity. The sovereign learns to move without trust, to speak without candor, to love only as performance. And in that mastery, they lose something vital, the capacity to be fully seen. You envied her. You thought her composed, untouchable. But would you envy her if you could feel the weight pressing on her shoulders? If you could hear the whisper of paranoia in her nights, the sound of knives being sharpened in unseen corridors? She does not sleep because she does not dare. For the higher she climbs, the more she is surrounded by those who long to see her fall. This is why she never wanted your love. Love is a risk rulers cannot afford. It is a liability, a distraction from the unrelenting demands of vigilance. To love is to give another the power to destroy you, and she has sworn never to give that power away. Perhaps you pity her. Do not. Pity is for those too weak to endure necessity. She chose this path with clear eyes. She chose it because the alternative to live ruled by others, to surrender her autonomy, was unthinkable. She understood what few dare to admit. In this world, You rule or you are ruled. There is no third condition. And what of you? You who have stumbled through the wreckage of her absence, searching for meaning. Will you finally see that the only freedom is in discipline? That the only defense against those who would control you is to master yourself as completely as she mastered you? You have two choices. You can recoil from this knowledge, retreat into the softness that made you vulnerable in the first place, and await the next sovereign who will shape you into an instrument of their will. Or you can take what she taught you not through words, but through the architecture of her actions, and begin to shape yourself into something ungovernable. Understand this. Power is not a gift. It is a discipline. It does not belong to those who want it. It belongs to those willing to suffer for it. Those who will cut away hesitation, sentimentality, and the desire to be understood. She showed you the price. You recoiled from it. But do you recoil because it is too high? Or because, deep down, you know you too hunger for that clarity, that command, that terrible freedom she wielded so effortlessly? For all your pain, all your resentment, there is still a part of you that admires her. You hate her because she saw you clearly, because she used you without hesitation, because she moved through your defenses as though they were air. But that same part of you knows she was strong in a way you were not. And it is strength, not goodness, that shapes the world. Would you have it any other way? Would you rather a world where the gentle and the sincere ruled? Or do you know, as she knew, that such a world cannot exist? That in every gathering of men, in every system of power, there will always be those who impose and those who submit? Perhaps now you see why she left no room for love. Love seeks to equalize, to erase hierarchies. But hierarchies are the skeleton of every state, every army, every institution. To dismantle them is to invite chaos, and chaos devours all. She did not want chaos. She wanted order, and order requires control, even over you, especially over you. This is why you still dream of her, why her absence gnaws at your mind like hunger. Because part of you still longs to return to the simplicity of being ruled. There is comfort in surrender. There is safety in obedience. But that safety comes at a cost you can no longer pay. You have seen the machinery now. You have felt its gears turn inside your own heart. You know what it means to be an object in someone else's design. And once you have seen it, you cannot unsee it. So ask yourself, will you take up her discipline? Will you strip away the illusions that bind you, or will you wait for the next mask, the next sovereign, the next tender tyrant to claim you? Because make no mistake, they are out there, watching, waiting, and they do not want love. They want control. And still, you hesitate to step fully into this understanding, because it demands you shed the final skin of who you were. You cling to the remnants of tenderness as if they will protect you, as if some echo of affection could make the machinery stop. But power does not stop. It does not pause for sentiment or mercy. It advances endlessly like the tide, swallowing all who stand still. She understood this better than you ever could, because she never allowed herself the luxury of believing in permanence. She knew loyalty is fleeting. She knew that today's ally is tomorrow's traitor, that gratitude fades faster than resentment, and that no one is more dangerous than those who once loved you and now feel betrayed. This is the calculus of rulers. Trust no one, not fully, not ever. You find this harsh, but harshness is not the point. Precision is. The sovereign cannot afford to miscalculate, to let their emotions outweigh their assessments. A single misstep can cost everything. So she walked lightly, spoke carefully, and gave nothing away she was not prepared to lose. To you, that restraint seemed like a wall, but to her, it was the only armor that could not be pierced. Think of the times she disappeared without warning, the silences you tried to fill with apologies, with explanations, with promises. She was not punishing you, she was measuring you, watching how you responded to absence, how quickly you cracked, how desperately you reached for her return. To rule is to test, to prod, to observe, to see where the fault lines run through the human soul. This is the secret few admit. People are not loyal because they are loved. They are loyal because they are afraid. afraid of losing favor, of losing protection, of losing what little power they have. Fear binds more tightly than affection, and it lasts longer too. She knew this. That is why she never relied on love alone to hold you. Love softens, fear hardens, and the ruler cannot afford soft hands. But do not think her invulnerable. No sovereign is. She too was hunted, in her way, hunted by expectation, by envy, by the restless ambition of those circling beneath her throne. She could never let her guard down because there was always another contender waiting for her to stumble. In her world, to relax is to be replaced. Now you begin to see why she never wanted love. Love weakens the vigilant. It blinds the wary. It makes the ruler believe they can afford to feel, and feeling unchecked, uncontrolled, is death to authority. Would you have done differently in her place? You like to imagine you would. You like to tell yourself you could hold power and still remain soft, still remain open. But the truth is, softness invites conquest. Openness invites subversion. And no one keeps power for long unless they are willing to wield it with a steady hand and a cold heart. This is why her control felt so total. It was not just over you, it was over herself, and that is the highest form of mastery. You thought you were fighting for her love, but really, you were fighting against her discipline, and discipline always wins. You want to hate her for this. You want to curse her name, call her manipulative, call her cruel, but hatred is a shield for those who are still too weak to confront their own complicity. She did not drag you into her web. You walked into it willingly because a part of you longed to be ruled. You mistook her clarity for cruelty because you did not yet understand the laws of power. Do you understand them now? Do you see that power is not a moral question but a structural one? That it does not reward the virtuous and punish the wicked, but simply flows to those who are willing to do what others will not. She did what she had to do, and if you are honest, you know this too. In her place, you would have done the same or you would have been devoured. Now you stand at a threshold. Behind you lies the man you were, soft, sentimental, unarmed against the quiet invasions of those more disciplined than you. Ahead lies the man you might become, wary, deliberate, ungovernable. But the path forward is not easy. It demands sacrifice, not of possessions, not of comfort, but of illusions. You must burn away the lie that love is enough. Burn away the lie that people can be trusted without consequence. Burn away the lie that you can remain pure and still hold your ground in a world ruled by predators. This is what she showed you, not with words, but with her presence, her silence, her precision. She was your adversary, but also your teacher. She stripped you of your innocence so you might see the world as it is, not as you wish it to be. Will you accept this gift? Or will you recoil from it, seeking again the safety of chains disguised as love? Because if you do not rise now, you will fall again, and the next sovereign will not be gentler than she was. The world does not care for your longing. It does not care for your suffering. It cares only for strength, and strength begins with discipline, the kind she embodied, the kind you once mistook for cruelty. She never wanted love. She wanted control, and the moment you understand why, the moment you accept that she was right, is the moment you will no longer be ruled. It is the moment you begin to rule yourself. And now you stand at the edge of it all. You have seen how the architecture of control is built, stone by stone, silence by silence, fear stitched into loyalty, loyalty shaped into dependence. You have felt the weight of another's will coiled around your own, so subtle you believed it was love. You have learned what most never do, that power does not shout, it whispers, that it does not crush, it bends. That the strongest chains are those you place on yourself, willingly, gratefully, mistaking them for safety. She was not your destroyer, she was your mirror. She revealed to you the truth you refused to face, that the world is not a circle where all are equal, but a ladder, and every rung is contested by hands desperate to climb or pull others down. You want to believe you are different, that you would not take what she took, that you would lead with gentleness and fairness. But this too is an illusion, one last soft place in your mind you have yet to burn. Because the moment you taste command, the moment you feel others bend to your will, you will understand what she understood. That kindness is not the foundation of power, but its undoing. That love may warm the heart, but it cannot shield the throne. And so the choice lies before you. You can return to the comfort of subjugation, find another sovereign to orbit, surrender your autonomy again in exchange for the illusion of connection. Or you can step forward into the cold clarity of command, knowing that to lead is to be alone, knowing that control requires the sacrifice of every weakness, every softness, every hope that others will love you for who you are, rather than what you can give them. Do not mistake this for cynicism. It is not cynicism. It is the architecture of reality, stripped of sentiment, the anatomy of power laid bare. The question is not whether you like it. The question is whether you can endure it. Because if you wish to never be ruled again, you must become as disciplined, as vigilant, as merciless with yourself as she was with you. You must master not only the world, but your own impulses, your own yearning to be held, to be understood, to be loved. Only then will you stop seeking rulers in the faces of those who smile at you. Only then will you stop mistaking tenderness for truth. And if you succeed, if you can burn away every illusion, every dependency, every softness, you will no longer ask why she did what she did. You will no longer call her manipulative or cruel. You will no longer hate her. You will understand her. You will see that she never wanted love because love is fragile. Love is treacherous. Love is a throne built on sand. She wanted control. And if you have the strength, so will you.